Hi guys, this is AruvaChan, and today I have another product from Arteza, and this one is a woodless watercolor pencil. And this is actually something that I've never heard of before, but what these are they are pencils, or they're in the shape of pencils, but they are entirely made out of watercolor. So you can continue to paint and use watercolors the same way you would, but you just have a little bit more, functionality with these. And I definitely think there are a lot more ways than I use them. Like I only painted a picture with them, but I think there are a lot more ways that you can use them. For example, if you wanted to accent certain pictures, you can also use them as paints, but also draw over top of the paints for more details. These paints were really, really cool. They were pretty easy to use. I didn't really have any problem with them. At first I used them just as like a colored pencil, and then I kind of went for a watercolor effect. And I used a lot of water in my paintings, and I usually use a lot of water in my painting. So when I use my things, I like to layer. And when I layer, I tried to do what I would usually do for like wet to wet stuff. I would just draw over top of it and try to mix it in with my pencil, and I found out that did not work for me. That I needed to wait until it completely dried again to add another layer, and after I let it dry again, I had to add the color of the skin tone or the hair that I had also used, which it didn't really bother me. I really do like taking my time with painting, and this didn't actually take me that long. I did what I would usually do when I'm painting, and I just waited for it to dry. Or if you are, the impatient type, you can also use a hairdryer. The pencils definitely mixed well. There were a few spots where I probably pressed too hard and it didn't mix in too well, but if you just keep layering over top of that, you don't really see any marks. I tried to get it to the point where I liked the consistency, because as you can see right now, it's going on fairly light. And that's something that's really nice about these pencils is you can control how dark you want your colors to be just by adding more or less. So I wanted mine to be a little bit more saturated, so I added more color, and I kept doing layers and layers and layers of different washes of color. And I definitely think I got it to the point where I was really happy with it at the end. And even this kind of color right now, this is perfect for like soft watercolors, and pictures that you don't want to seem as saturated or as digital kind of looking as they can be. I like my pictures to look about as digital as they can be. If it looks like I did it on the computer, then that's amazing. I really like that. But I also can really appreciate the softest watercolor pretty pony kind of watercolor. I feel like every time I think of soft watercolors, I think of like a carousel, like painted by some old woman. But I do really love that kind of aesthetic. I do definitely think I am kind of like an in-your-face kind of person, especially in real life. So I always like to be bold and bright, and this definitely allows all of this. I added a little bit more yellow to the hair, and it's just started to really shine through and look more golden. And I was really, really happy with that. So I ended up layering and layering and layering, and I kept going, and I got it to something really, really pretty at the end. But I did this with everything. I did it with the skin and the hair. The only thing that I tried to keep away from is she's holding a necklace in her hand, and it's sort of like an opal attached to a chain, and I wanted to stay away from that, and I wanted to keep it kind of light. So I only used a very, very little amount of color on that. But I definitely think the mixing was amazing. I had no problem mixing it all. The only thing I would say if you are trying these is you need to add whatever color you want to mix with the color that is already underneath it. Like when I was putting the blush on her cheeks, I did a layer of the tan, and then I did a soft layer of pink or red, and when I wet it, the red kind of smushed around, and it did that wet thing where you don't add enough color. If you don't add enough color, it like leaves like a stain, like a watermark, I guess. It leaves a watermark where there should be color, and there is none. So if you are looking to do that, you need to add the same color that you have underneath and whatever color you want to add with it. That was something that I had to do a lot with the hair too. I definitely had to add more yellow every time I wanted to add another layer, which didn't bother me. I definitely understand that if you want more color, you're going to have to add more color, but it was definitely something that I had to learn. So if you are looking to do that, that is a little tip. And I ended up darkening her skin a little bit because I did want to add more color and more reds and, oranges to her skin tone, which didn't bother me at all. Like I definitely love how it came out in the end. But I definitely think if you are looking for something more light, add all of the colors that you want right away, because you will have to layer if you are looking to do more colors. But that is something that I genuinely learned while I was doing this, and it didn't bother me because I am just kind of winging it. Like I didn't watch any tutorials on how to use these, and it was just kind of me figuring it out on my own. But I definitely think these are very fun. Like if you are like a hobbyist, you just do art for fun, and you're looking to try something a little bit more mobile friendly, I would highly recommend these. Like you can keep them in a little baggie. You don't need a palette or anything. These are super, super neat, and they're really cute, and I definitely think you won't need to sharpen them. Like I definitely think I won't need to sharpen these if I ever use them. Because for the most part I'm going to be using them to paint, but I definitely think I feel like these are very good if you sharpen them. For instance, if I wanted to line art with them, I definitely think I could have, but at the level they are at right now, I definitely could not, because they are very dull when you first get them. But it is definitely a thing that I would recommend if you are looking to do something more mobile and you're just interested in a less stressful paint experience. Because I know when I have to take stuff around and when I have to go places, I want to bring my paints and I want to bring all of my paint accessories, because I have a lot of really nice watercolor paper and I have nice watercolor paints, and I find myself out and about thinking, wow, I could paint this right now, like this is so pretty, or inspiration strikes and I can't do anything about it because my paint kits are too big and they're too bulky, and I don't want to lug them around with me wherever I'm going. Like if I'm going on a day trip, I don't want to lug around all of my my giant paint palettes, because that's just inconvenient. It's inconvenient for me, and I definitely think if I ever do, have inspiration, I definitely think these would be the perfect tool. Like even if I'm I don't know, even if you're at the beach or in the woods and all you have is a bottle of water, I feel like that's okay. I would definitely there's enough, this is sad to say, but there's enough garbage in the woods to find a bottle or a jar and fill it up with water. And I guess depending on where you live, I don't think if you were in the desert you would want to do this, but if you go out in nature, I feel like these would be really easy to use. And they're super nice. And I definitely think I would recommend these to anybody who is interested in attempting watercolors. These were very kind, they're very forgiving pencils, and I definitely think they paired really well with my watercolors that I already have. I got some Arteza Watercolor paints, and that's actually what I'm using to line art right now, but they definitely are super nice. They're a very nice consistency too. Like when I was painting with them, they weren't clumpy. There wasn't any like big, you know, chunks of some sort of random substance in them. I definitely think they were smooth. The finished piece came out really nice, and I definitely think this is something that you might look into. This is something you might want to look into if you're, you know, you have a friend who is an artist who's interested in this kind of thing. But I definitely think this is probably one of the coolest, like, I've never heard of this kind of thing before, like watercolor pencils. Like, what, like, how does that work? Like, I definitely think if you are interested in cool art things, like this is something that I would say is really cool. Like, this is a pencil, but it's actually watercolors, and it works as pencils too. Like I used some of the earlier watercolor pencils to draw like a huge drawing, and I definitely think it was something that looked beautiful, but it didn't use any water at all. So even if you don't use them with water, I feel like they still work, and the entire thing is made out of coloring. Like, I think the only thing that's not is like the hard shell on the end, but even then, I don't know, that might also be made out of watercolor. Who knows? I definitely would suggest these. If you guys are looking for something like this, I can leave a code down in the description, like a link to where you can find these and check them out. Like, they are really cool. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say on this. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will leave a link in the description for that, for my Discord, for my merchandise. I have t-shirts out right now. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I make videos all the time, pretty much every week, unless I'm sick. So yeah, bye guys.